Hello. I know you're ready for another awesome Kingdom song, aren't you? I am. Today's song is number 156 from the 1984 songbook, The Brown One. And the song is titled, I Want To. This is another 1960s musical theater-inspired, frightfully high-pitched, incredibly repetitive piece of musical propaganda. That with that we might live, to whom truth we could give. Yes, God's truth from His lips overflow. So, we're starting off with a bang. We go straight to the concept of vicarious sacrifice, which is central to Christian doctrine, even kind of Christians like the Witnesses. Vicarious sacrifice is basically the idea that if a sin is committed and then a sacrifice is made, regardless of whether the sacrificial thing or animal or person or whatever has anything to do with either the sin or the sinner or the sinnee, God will be appeased and all will be forgiven. The problem with this idea is that it makes zero sense. For example, let's say that I steal something from you. How do we correct that problem? Well, you make me give it back, right? Or if I broke it, you make me replace it. Okay, that makes sense. But let's say that instead of doing that, we go and we find someone else who has nothing to do with either of us and we steal his wallet. All is forgiven now, right? Right? No, you idiot. We've just made a bigger set of problems, and now I'm not held accountable for the original crime, and somebody else has lost their wallet, and you're still out of whatever it was that I stole from you. Great. Nobody learns anything, and more people are harmed. It's the exact same concept with the idea that God sent His only Son as a sacrifice for our sins. Rather than correcting the sin, we're punishing someone who was never at fault and whose death really has no bearing on any of it. Why? How does this make any sense to anybody? And what does it say about Jehovah that He needs someone to die a grisly death in order to forgive? Furthermore, it needs to be His own child? Weird. I will say that when I think through this, as a parent, if you do me wrong, there is absolutely no circumstance in which killing my child is going to make anything any better or even slightly forgivable, like ever. Okay? Oh, and if you notice with this verse, we're also back in the land of the apostrophized words. Heavenly is a doozy. Greatly He did comfort mankind, heal the sick, the lame, and the blind. To His royal creation He proved true, and He lovingly said, I want to. Oh, what help Jehovah gave when He sent the faithful wise slave, with whom we serve with joy as our powers we employ, that the needy and weak we might save. Oh, the faithful wise slave, those helpful people. Living pretty high on the hog for slaves, I think. These helpful people are the ones who create the flip-flopping nutty doctrines and keep flipping the new light switch. Guys, failed doomsday prophecies are not particularly helpful. FYI. And what is this about saving the needy and weak? How exactly? I mean, that's certainly a noble idea, but we're not talking about like giving them food or helping them fix their roof or getting their car running or getting the kids to school or new shoes or nothing. We're talking about bringing them into a high control religious group and sucking all the joy and all the money out of their lives. I'll pass on that help, thanks, just the same. Truly those will surely can
love bomb them ever so well. Yes. That's why once they're in, we don't include them in anything or help them much at all, either financially or even with a ride to the meetings. We wouldn't want someone to misconstrue. I mean, a single mother is just a trap after all, looking for a brother to provide for her and someone else's kids. I have heard this reasoning before for why certain people were not helping others in the congregation. And if the unfortunate lady, because it was always a lady, was a divorcee and not an actual widow, then she really didn't count anyway. So if you did happen to actually want to help those less fortunate than yourself, in your witness, you need to get ready to have your motives questioned and to be put under at least moderate surveillance by the friends. I want to indeed.
Love for God impels us to call back and patiently teach.
To be impelled means that you are driven forward, not to be confused with their other favorite word, which is impaled, which they use kind of incorrectly, referring to the cross, but not the cross without the cross. You know what I mean? Anyway, so impelled, driven. So witnesses feel driven to keep coming back to your house if you take their literature or if you're nice to them in hopes of converting you. And that is what they hope to do, even though they don't refer to it as conversion. Conveniently, in their minds, if they call it bringing you into the truth, then they can say they're not there trying to convert people, but they are.
Those who say are to learn and to feel so forlorn, all such seekers of truth we must reach.
So I think it's interesting here that they admit that they're preying on those who sigh and who mourn. And they do. They are looking for people who have endured some sort of trauma or loss because those people are more open to their message in general. That is why they sometimes do graveyard witnessing. I know we used to do that. Or write letters to the families of people in the obituaries column in the paper. I can remember actually being encouraged from the platform to do that. It's very, very rude. Just not cool, guys. But we used to do it. And
oh, what joy would be in this land, Bible truths and promises grand. When God's service they earnestly will do, all the sins we have sung, I want to. I don't want to.
you know, I have to say, even at my most devout and zealous as a Jehovah's Witness, there were very few times that I actually wanted to go out in field ministry or to go to a meeting or to conventions. If I did, there was always some other reason why, and it wasn't the joy of preaching to people whose homes I invaded uninvited. I mean, that was always very uncomfortable to me to just show up at somebody's house. There was always a social reason if I wanted to go do something theocratic. Sometimes it was just as simple as alleviating loneliness because I wasn't allowed to be friends with anyone else. Many times it was a boy that I might like, or going to the conventions, getting new clothes was awesome. But look, no matter how many poorly written songs you force people to sing, it's never going to make them enjoy thankless busy work that benefits no one, okay? The most fun thing that I ever did as a Jehovah's Witness was working food service at assemblies and going to quick builds. What do those things have in common? You're actually doing something useful. Imagine that. Sounds like the end, huh? We're not done yet. Oh no, because this song is actually in the 2017 songbook, except it's barely recognizable. It's been cut to 2 verses, and y'all, the melody has completely changed. It's in a much lower key, which I heartily applaud. I do. But it's a melody that does not make any sense. I would probably have to listen to it many times to be able to sing it, and I'm just not doing that. No thanks. I do want to point out one change, though. Remember that verse about those widows and orphans? Well, there's a new second verse. It goes, "We now try to follow his way in all of our dealings each day. We are loving and kind to all whom we find. We help them to learn and obey." Okay, first of all, is anybody thinking there once was a man from Nantucket? We are loving and kind to all whom we find. Really? Well, I beg to differ, because I think that I fit into the category of all, and they certainly haven't been very loving and kind to me personally. How about you? But the interesting part is that last little line there. We help them to learn and obey. Wow. How do you actually help someone to obey? And why is it that obedience and submission are the most important qualities to have all of a sudden? They aren't. This is not cool, guys. Not cool. All right, moving on. We respond to friends when in need. We love them in word and in deed. So if widows and orphans should ask you, then readily say, I want to. All right. This is coded language, guys. When they say we respond to friends when in need, they mean the friends, not real friends, because they don't know what real friendship actually is. So this should read, we respond to Jehovah's Witnesses in need, but not with anything that might actually be helpful. More watchtowers. That's the answer to everything.